Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
How you doing today? Shanquilla Carter here with my brother Neriah Ben Israel.
I got him.
Yep. I'm gonna open this up in prayer and we're gonna just do some discussing. You know, my focus is I want to deal with how I guess relationship will have you wanting to redeem what's yours. My brother might want to share some other stuff, and so we're opening all of that. We're gonna just have some discussion, but I'm gonna open it in prayer, and then I'm gonna let him read something, and then he'll read for me, and if necessary, I'll read for him.
All right.
Abba Yah, we thank you for this blessed day here in Georgia, able to spend time with my brother from the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach. One that you have connected me to for, I believe, not just for a season, but for the rest of this walk as we are awakened together, but we're also going to be walking into your redemption together, as your plan is for us to be those that are out there harvesting those souls for you, putting out the word and sharing the love so that those that don't know you are able to see you in us and seek you out for themselves. So I thank you for this time of fellowship, and may we grow in relationship and in our bond and be ones in the mishpachah that's lead others into the mishpachah. We thank you for that in Yahusha's name. Blessings and shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Well, I'm glad to finally get you down here, man. I can't believe we side by side, you know. So straight from Flint, man. I finally got this man down here. I can't believe it. But all praise to the Most High.
All praise to the
I want
Most
to
High.
open up. I want to read a little bit, read the scripture. Oh, how I love your Torah. It is my meditation all day. You, through your commandments, have made me wiser than my enemies. For they were ever with me. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for the testimonies are my meditation. I understand more than the ancients because I guard your precepts. I have refrained my feet from every evil way that I might guard your word. I have not departed from your judgments, for you have taught me. I read Psalms 119, 97 through 102. I ask y'all to bless it. I ask y'all to help me understand those words even more every day. It's something that I read. I wanted to read.
Well, what came to my mind over the night, I was looking at the relationship between Abraham or Abram and his nephew. We've been told it was his nephew, but I'm learning that it wasn't really his nephew. It's more so his first cousin. Basically, Abram's, his father, had a brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so his brother had a son named Lot, and his brother had a daughter named Sarai. So, they was actually his first cousins, but I don't never ever remember reading anything about cousins in the scripture. So I guess that's where they get the sister from, and then, nephew. It's easier to explain it a little bit, I guess, by using terms like that, but it didn't exactly fit. But hey, more I look into it, the clarity that I get from it is good. So I gave you something here in Akid to read, and I think it's actually starting off like
Akid 3 and 5.
Yeah.
And it came to pass that the Elohim opened up his view the day of Abraham and beheld the day when Abraham had fallen to the earth out of sorrow over the idols of his father. Now the task of his father in the land of Ur was to keep the house of idols of the people, but Abraham loved the Lord. Abraham loved the Elohim. And it came to pass that Abraham determined in his heart that the Elohim alone should be Yah. And he laid fire under the house of idols. And it was in the night. And when the people beheld the fire, one of the brothers of his father rushed into the house to save his idols and was consumed in the flames. Now the people said, the death of this man who was named Haran, was in a sign to their idol gods, that their idol gods were displeased with Terah, the father of Abraham, and they looked upon him with dishonor. Because of this dishonor, Terah was obliged to depart out of the land, and he journeyed northward. And it came to pass, when Terah had established himself by the banks of the river in a new land which he called Haran, after the name of his brother who had perished in the flames, that he once again turned unto his idols. And no man knew it. It was Abraham who had laid the fire and destroyed the house of idols. But the child of Haran was named Lot. And Abraham felt responsible for the Lord's to see his care and raise him up and be a father to him. And in this course of those days, Terah would not heed the pleas of his son to abandon his idols. So Abraham sought out the Lord, sought out the Elohim, and who thus fallen down to the earth out of sorrow. And the Lord drew near and said unto him, My son, you are not responsible for the death of your uncle, but his great love for his idols drew him into the flames. So be comforted, my son, and arise and pray that ye will, and ye shall be done according to your word. And Abraham arose and cast his eyes at a distance and saw smoke arising, formed the cooking fires of his father's encampment. And he said, My Elohim, my Yah, would you deliver me unto this place where you are alone? You are God, a place where I may live out my days in peace and walk with you and you alone. And Yah revealed unto him the course he should take to the southwest, to a place where Yah alone was God, was Elohim. I'm sorry, trying to get that right. And Abraham told his father that he was setting out to walk through the land. And Abraham left his father, and the father sang him a song of blessing. And it came to pass that Abraham departed out of the land in the manner the Elohim had showed him, and he arrived at a place just two hours distant from Melchizedek. And Melchizedek became like a father unto him. Oh, wow. And taught him in all things of Yah. And Abraham praised the Elohim, his Yah, and was comforted. And Abraham learned that Noah had died there at Mebunetches on the 5th day after the birth of Abraham. And Melchizedek said to his father Noah, Wait until Abraham has come before the departed. Abraham has come before he departed from the earth. And because of the power of Melchizedek, the Elohim alone was Yah in all the quarter of the land. And Abraham rested and praised the Elohim. And it came to pass that Aki viewed these things.
Okay, we can stop right there. We stop
Okay,
right there.
okay.
But you notice that in the text it's saying that Melchizedek is Shem. So but see, one thing about the book of Aki, it's actually saying Melchizedek actually is a title. And so Shem is actually a Melchizedek, but the book of Aki is actually a Melchizedek. Abraham is the first Melchizedek. It's pretty interesting, but we're not going to go all off in detail on that. But
well, not to cut you off, but it will give some people a clearer understanding. Because right now, I just got a clearer understanding. Me understanding the Melchizedek and how he walked, that gave me a little bit of understanding on some things.
Yeah, because Melchizedek was actually what they called the high priest.
Correct.
And so the high priest, and so basically you got Abraham, he ends up being Melchizedek, but you got Adam. Then you go down, as you go down the line, Enoch was a Melchizedek, Aki. It's a lot to go into, and that's not really the focus. So we don't go there.
No.
One day we need to have that talk, though. But it's just interesting how you see how Lot, the son, was left, and he felt like, okay, your dad dying is my responsibility. I caused that by destroying these idols. But most people don't, when they look at the idol aspect of it, who was running, maintaining those idols? That was Abram's father that was running it. And if you go into the book of Jasher, he was keeping over the idols of Nimrod. They were, the people of Nimrod, Babel. He was the idol. He was responsible for the idols of that land. And he even had his own idols. But it's just amazing how you see pagan worship, a man standing up and saying, nah, I don't like this, destroying it. And in that, there was a casualty. He felt guilty for the casualty because there was a close relative of his. And so now he won't take on the responsibility of his son. And, it's like, man, so we've read, most of us, I'm not going to say everybody, but most of us read the 66, and we see the relationship, how basically Lot's staying around with Abram, and he's like, okay, I got a lot of possession. You got a lot of possession. Here's the land. You choose, and I'll take what's left. So Lot takes the best part. Basically, he has a love for him, and he's raising him up. But, of course, they can't live together because they've got great possessions. So he's allowing him, he's not having him come into his home. It's like, okay, you're a part of my home, and I possess you too. No, I want you to have your own possessions. We can be next to each other, but we don't want to consume each other. We don't want to be in competition with each other. We want to be able to dwell with each other.
Keep in mind, I think it was the Elohim, it was Yah's purpose to bless Abraham, not Lot in the first
not
place.
Lot.
He gave everything to Abraham because the account, I believe, goes that Abraham had, he always wondered about these idols that his father and Haran worshipped, and he just knew something was off about it. And I guess the deeper account of it is they looked at the sun as a thing of worship, and Abraham just knew it was something off about it.
Definitely. Yeah. But just the fact that Lot was associated with him, he got a connection to the blessing. Like, like hey, you a blessed man, and me associating with you, I'm gonna get some.
Same thing. I look at you. Okay.
Yeah. But all right. One of the things though, I just, looking at it in that scenario, he needed to be saved from the condition of the paganism that was around him, and yet he ended up being a redeemer for his nephew, or actually, it wouldn't seem like that would be more his first cousin by our modern terms, but he ended up being a redeemer for him, or someone setting up the stage. And so if you go further in the scripture, you go to Genesis 14, it kind of lays it down a little bit different. So if you can read Genesis 14, it's amazing though how we have these extra books, and people have told us over and over to stay away from them. But if you start checking into, because I want to even hit on Jasher, how they can talk about the same scenarios and give more detail. They can give some clarity. If it goes against it, of course you should know, okay, I'm gonna throw that away, or I'm gonna set that to the side until maybe I have some clarity. Because like, as you've seen, Neriah was reading and he kept stumbling on the word Lord. I do it all the time. That word should not be there. Right. That's something that they put there in a translation, right. The Romans and stuff like that, or the Catholics, they put these pagan terms in here and having us tripped up. We're saying terms that deal with other deities that we should never say in doing so, but they trip us up like that by putting it in what we consider our language of understanding or comprehension. We all live in the United States, so of course we speak what they would call the language of America, which is English, not our native Hebrew. And so a lot of these terms we would never say, because the term Lord, or I don't even want to really say it, it means Baal. Well, yeah, I get it. It would be a better term to just say master.
If you don't know what Baal is, that's another lesson too. I mean, you will before this lesson. We're gonna let you know what it is.
We really just talking, but
just having some dialogue. I'm kicking it with Mark. This how we kick. So I mean, you want me to start if
might have started first one of 14, because the whole chapter is I know it's a lot of reading, but it's all good.
And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elachar, Kedar, Omer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sedom, and the Bersha, king of Amorah, and Shaniva, king of, is that right?
Yeah. Now, see, he's reading from the Sefer. Now, I'm going to stop you right here. If you go to the King James or whatever, the person that they were battling against, Chaldalomer, is what it would say. I'm gonna just give a little snippet. Chaldalomer is the person who had in 5,000 men went against Nimrod and his 700,000. He smashed off 600,000 of Nimrod's men. Nimrod was one of these mighty warriors, but in the end of his reign, he wasn't
soft.
He wasn't all that he was. And Chaldalomer basically was the one that was ruling that area. And then the brother title he mentioned that was over nations, that nations, and if you read the book of Jasher, is Goyim. So it's pretty interesting.
Gentile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you start reading these other texts, it starts giving you terms that you're more familiar with. Because most people know Gentiles to mean the nations, but they didn't connect Goyim. And that's the term that means nations, but it also deals with the Gentiles, and it deals with heathens. Heathens. And then with Chaldalomer, that's it's like you start reading these other texts, and no, it's not to take over what you have already eaten from the text, but it's to fill in the blank and sometimes have your mind start clicking and thinking, because a lot of times we basically read it and we put it to the side because there's so many names. But when you start to associate the names, because most of us, when we heard Ashkenazi Jewish, we did not even relate that Ashkenaz was the grandson of Japheth or Japheth. Most people didn't do that. We know Jewish or what they call Jewish is supposed to be Judah, but how can you have two fathers? And I know this is a rabbit trail, but it's like you start to get appreciation for the text and the words that's there and what they mean. Me and my brother was talking earlier, and it was like, okay, when Genesis, the account of Jacob dealing with Esau, it talks about messenger. But if you read in Jasher, it says angels. And most people know that angels are considered messengers, but when you read just messengers by itself and not go back to the Hebrew and see that it's talking about the Malachim or about angels, you just think messengers, and that could just be men. And so it's good to break it down and get to the actual language, and you get more clarity. There's usually more meaning to it than what's just in the English. The English is basically just giving you a basic comprehension, and they usually have peeled back so many layers and stuff that you don't get the fullness of it. And so it's almost like eating okay, let me see.
Well, another example of it, it could be, you got your goy, another word for Gentiles in Yah's terms is Adumea. What I'm saying? Edom.
But see, most people didn't even really connect when they heard Adumea. They didn't connect that with Edom. Even when I first heard Saudi, Esau, Saudi, I didn't connect that. Most of us don't connect it, and I know we going off a rabbit trail. We're gonna get on back. I'm gonna let him finish reading, but it's just this is good to not just babysit the text. You just read it and say, okay, that's it. Sometimes you need to just read it over, slow down, and stay within one chapter. Sometimes we trying to read chapters and just I read the whole book or this, or I read the whole. Did you actually get something out of it? Sometimes if we slow down and just stay in the chapter, sometimes words will start popping out. See, this word is alive, and the Ruach HaKodesh is trying to get information to us, but a lot of times we're rushing through it and we're not taking our patience, and enduring with the text, and we don't get it all. And so now we have a information age where so much information is coming out. And so how do we sift through it? Do we just eat it all? Some of it, maybe it's not the time and the season for it. Some of it is the time, but if you don't know how to eat it right, if you're still on baby food, that meat is going to choke you out. It's going to choke you out. But I'm going to let my brother finish reading, because I know that rabbit trail that we went way over there, but back to it.
Okay. All these were joined together in the valley of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaim in Ashtoreth, Cornaim, and Zuzizim, in Cham and the Emim and Shaveh, and pardon me if I mess some of these words up.
Hey,
And the Koryathaim.
It's all good, because down the line, when we keep, the more we read these words, they're gonna start clicking on some stuff. Because go ahead.
And the Chorium and the Mount Seir unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of Amalequim, and also the Amorim, and dwelt in Chatson, Tamar. And they went out to the king of Chittim, and the king of Amorah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Savim, and the king of Bela, the same as Tesor. And they joined the battle with them in the valley of Siddim, and with Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with the title kings of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, the king of Elachor, 4 kings with 5. And the valley of Siddim was full of Slimapits, and the kings of Siddim and Amorah fled and fell there, and they remained fled unto the mountain. And they took all the goods of Siddim and Amorah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Siddim, in his goods, and departed.
They took Lot. That was the thing that set this off. Abram could have basically he could care less about any of that, but they took Lot. This same boy who he had taken responsibility from after he done burnt up them idols, and his dad went in there to save them idols and died. No, I didn't save this boy for you to mess with him. Leave this boy alone. You done messed up now, because his Redeemer is on the move.
That's right, because it wasn't even so much that Yah had the covenant with Lot, but because Abraham cared about it, the Elohim cared about it too. Mm-hmm. So it immediately made it the Elohim's problem, because it was Abraham's problem.
It was, there you go.
So that'll let you know that you know very much that the Elohim is concerned about what we concerned about.
Yeah,
especially if it means something. I mean, I ain't talking about y'all. I want you to let the Atlanta Braves win tonight. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about real concern that we concerned with in our everyday life. He concerned about.
Yeah, I am my brother's keeper for That's real.
Yeah,
and so go ahead. No, yes, read. No.
And they took Lot, Abram's brother, and the son who dwelt in Siddim, and his goods, and departed. And there they came came one that had escaped, and told Abram, the Ivri.
See that? What's Hebrew? What's that mean? Hebrew? That's what. What? Oh, let me. That's a word. Another word that we back in the days when we were Christian, we didn't have a clue what that meant.
Some of us still don't. Like I know what it meant, but it took me a while. I didn't.
Well, I'm saying, but if you just read through it, you don't get it. Abraham, the Ibri, the Hebrew. Oh, well, that's the English transliteration. But right. yeah. But go ahead.
For he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Emory, brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Anar, and these were they were confederate with Abraham, so they were down with Abraham.
They had a covenant with him.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
And then when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. He divided himself against them and his servants by night and smote them, pursued them unto Shava, and which was on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and all brought again his brother Lot and his goods. And when also he came the people, and the king of Sedom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him in the valley of Shavah, which is the king's valley. And Melchizedek, king of Shalem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of El Elyon.
See, look, remember high priest? It's right there.
Yeah,
the high priest.
That's amazing though, man. I mean, just
you
would think that he was talking about Melchizedek, but he's talking about a Melchizedek who
we thought it was and see other texts explain it. But one of the things that kind of gets me is that people say Melchizedek was the oldest one alive or whatever. But when you start, if everybody died off the earth and only Noah and his sons were left, and Noah already died, one of his sons would have to be the oldest on earth. Unless everybody didn't die, which that's what a lot of people say, that everybody didn't die. But it kind of fits, unless I know a lot of people say, well, it was Yahusha, but okay, yeah.
So it's funny that you bring it up. I'm gonna do it on video. A lot of times this would be something you were asking. So it's just like in the garden. I mean, it was a purpose for Adam and Eve. Am I correct? It was they were made to till the ground, right?
They were here. They were actually that Adam was doing the work. He did all of that stuff, and then he was brought a helper. Right. But they were supposed to be the example of dominion on earth, and so they were the kingdom established in the flesh. But go ahead. Say what
people get it confused. I'm not saying it was a multitude of other people before Adam and Eve. All I'm saying is there were a multitude of other people while Adam and Eve was here.
And see, I'm like, I don't know, because I wasn't there, and then because I'm like, I've heard the story of Lilith and all that stuff. The scripture clearly, but when you look at it, they were having children at 40s, but living to 800 years old. And so if you at 40 having a child, and then you got 56 more years before you get to 100. And so if you made one child at 40, how many more children could you make in that other 56 more years? And then you got 700 more years after that. I'm like, you could make exponential amount of children if you got that many years. And if I found something as fun as that,
probably even start the age.
I'm like, and they seem to have long life and have strength in that long life. I enjoy that activity with my wife. I don't know why they wouldn't back then, and it seemed like they would be fruitful and multiply like the commandments say. And so you would have, boom, 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 boom. The whole rabbit philosophy. I know rabbits won't want to put that because that's some fertility and like crap, but still, they would be exponentially having kids like it ain't nothing, because they being fruitful and multiplying, having dominion over the earth. The problem comes into play when they don't stick to the plan and the format. Yeah. And so that means, to me, I know this is off topic again. There was we just talking, but there was a format. That means that's why I believe that the law was always there from the beginning.
It had to be.
It had to be. I'm like, you got a person that knows the end from the beginning. You think he's gonna come in and give them instructions and give them a partial?
And it's documented. Abraham sacrificed himself.
But hold on, that's in the book of Jubilees. They don't accept that though. Didn't it say that the book of Jubilees was written by the Malachim and by Moses.
Right, and I don't understand why they wouldn't accept the book of Jubilee. I myself would. Let me tell you why. Because it lines up with scripture. Even when you're talking about sacrificing, it's a big misconception about sacrificing. And we talked about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Some people always, if you now we're talking about church standpoints, and we're talking about all church people think the sacrifice was just for the remission of sin. It was never for that. And he never intended for us for us to sacrifice to be for the remission of sin. It was for our yearly crops. It was our first fruits. Everything that we got, there were grain offerings. That was our offering for. That was our offering for our calves and for our livestock. Everything that was first, we gave y'all the best of it, and that was for him to bless us throughout the year, just like the daily sacrifice going to continue in the millennial kingdom. So when you start telling people that, they be like, "Oh, what is this dude talking about? See, there he is. What is he saying?"
Because why would they be working on working land and stuff like that? For I'm like, what's the purpose of working this land if y'all ain't getting no benefit? He built them for the work. So I don't know. It just don't make sense.
If you go to the book of Jubilees, it lined it up perfect. And y'all gave Abraham instruction on how to sacrifice, and he wanted his increase.
But I guess another reason why I see that they have a problem is because some of the stuff that it say. Because one of the things that it say, on Sabbath, you ain't supposed to be having no sex. These folks want to have their sex. No. Or they done said the first 5 books is Torah. If Moses wrote the book of Jubilees, that would mess up the narrative of the first 5 books, because that is not one of the ones that's connected.
Y'all said there were other books. Now look, hold on. Now I'm not saying that Jubilees is Torah before you.
No, I'm not saying it's Torah, but they made the rule that said the books of Moses is Torah, and that's a book of Moses. I'm saying I would say the books that dealt with instruction would be Torah. So maybe that ain't one dealing with instruction, but their standard, they say, is the books written by Moses. I'm like, they need to, and I'm like, where did they get that from? I think they got that from the Ashkenazis. I don't see anywhere in the text that say that.
Or Talmud.
Or the Talmud. But I'm saying, but still, wouldn't that be Ashkenazis? Yeah. But
I guess when you read Jubilees, not to cut you off, I can very well see why we probably shouldn't be having intercourse on the Shabbat. It's our pleasure. And y'all say in Isaiah 58, if we refrain our feet from doing our own pleasure on the Sabbath, then he'll take us to the high place.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. But so you see, there are things that will go against dogma and doctrine that people have pushed, and so they pushed it out there so much they would have to take it back. And people don't like to take back. That's what happened with us with Christianity. A lot of times when you show somebody in Christianity what they were doing with Rome, their pride just came up and said,
"That's your interpretation."
Oh, that's my That's what they say. That's what they say. That's what they say. That's what they say.
You weak in faith. I'm gonna eat this ham right now. You weak in faith.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
I won't eat it in front of you. They got it all mixed up. I want to eat this ham in front of you.
That's what they say. I
eat it
anything you challenge with a Christian because you read it in this book, you can come with scripture. What's in this book and not add not a word. And they say, "Oh, that's your interpretation." And I'm like, I just read it. I didn't put an interpretation to it. Why you get mad at me? They be straight up mad when you say certain things. And you read it. You didn't add nothing to the break. You didn't add no you read exactly what's here and they get mad. And it's like, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I first read Amos 3:1-2, that blew my mind.
Let me. Now you got me curious. And
well, I can go there too. I know, but you go ahead and read it.
Put me in there. I mean,
man, when I read that, it blew my mind because I'm
Amos,
like, what? Amos 3:1-2. It's just so simple.
Hear this: the word of Yahuwah has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought out from the land of Mizraim, saying, You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all of your iniquities. Oh,
So what is he a liar? He said, "You only have I known." These other folks that's claiming him, replacement theology. You only have I known. And then it's even a text on what says that he calls Israel his firstborn son. I'm like, and he's not talking about Israel, Jacob. He's talking about the nation. And I'm like, oh, blow my mind. And because I'm like, I was always told, as a Christian, because I was taught I was Ham. That's what I was taught. My favorite pastors telling me I'm Ham. And that we should, send money over to Israel and look out for those people and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And they would defend this, Caesar Borgia picture and stuff like that, and all of that.
boy.
And so of course, let's go back. I'm gonna just reframe back to what we're talking about. So we redeeming what belongs to Yah, and so Abraham redeemed what belonged to him, or his son. I'm like, we need to redeem what belongs to us. And folks have a problem with us notating that Caesar Borgia was wrong. And so that man that walked on this earth had melanin. They get mad that we redeem that. We bring forth that truth. They get upset because it don't matter what his color was. But is he the spirit of truth? Is he the ruach of truth? So what is the truth? That Caesar Borgia was not the truth, and yet you defended that and supported that. But
we know what Caesar Borgia was.
Yeah.
And we know who he is.
Yeah.
He was a known homosexual. I mean, a known. So let me ask you a question about what you just said, because I'm sure somebody want to know now. I mean, you just hit me with the Amos 3:1 and 2. So does that mean? Could that mean when Gentiles teach the book, they totally getting it wrong? Because there's another scripture that said he showeth his word unto Jacob and his statutes unto Israel, and he said, for the rest of the world, he had not known them.
Hey, I think it's somewhere in the Brit Hadashah that says that that Paul or Shu'al says that the oracles are with Israel.
He said that too.
And so
this was David talking.
Yeah, it's saying the same thing. Both of them are saying the same thing. And so how can they teach us our book? But yet they're teaching us our book. So how can we trust that?
This is in Psalms 147:19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, and his statutes unto his judgments unto Israel.
Let me see.
He have not dealt so with any other nation. As for his judgments, they have not known him. Praise ye Yah.
Hold on. Keep that there.
Okay.
I might well put that on the video, on the recording and stuff like that. I need to pull that up, because I'm like, why not let them see that on the screen? Where is that?
Yeah, Psalms 147:19-20. My thing is, when you never gonna have nothing in the book of the law. If it's in the book of the law and it's gonna be in there 2 or 3 times, you best believe it's gonna be in there more than one time.
Yeah, but ain't that how it's supposed to be? Yeah. Two or more
witnesses. 2 or 3 is a matter of established.
Oh well, no, you don't need you don't need multiple witnesses. Not to eat pork. Because I'm like, it says over and over not to eat it. Over and over, 19 and 20.
19 and 20.
It said over and over not to eat it, and they want to use the whole one time that Peter talks about a dream that he said ain't had nothing to do with it. It had something to do with Cornelius and his people. He said don't call any man unclean. But they want to use that one time to judge.
You're gonna get a twofold ministry out. That's what they're gonna say. This is a twofold vision, but they don't say that nowhere.
But where's the supporting witness at?
No precept. You can't find. If you find a precept, if anybody that I know find a precept
on the screen, I'm gonna just share this on the screen. We gonna keep talking for a minute, but I just want y'all to see this.
Right. If anybody find another precept telling me that Peter's vision of was about food, I'll cash app you $1,500. I will.
But it said he sends out his word and melts them. He causes his wind to blow, the waters flow, declaring his word to Yaqub, his laws and his right rulings to Israel. not to everybody else.
Mhm.
He has not done so with any nation, and they have not known his.
Man, it's right here. It's plain and
I
simple.
just want to get that on the video or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and we can go back. I know we rabbit trailing and they call me the rambling prophet or whatever. Well, I ain't gonna say that. Some people don't even acknowledge me of having any type of prophetic. So I'm whatever. But he, jeez. All right, but let me go over here. See,
Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. The people get it misunderstood. People got it misunderstood. When Yah in Ezekiel chapter 37, when Yah told Ezekiel to prophesy to the wind, to the four winds, he was telling him to read the scriptures is all he was, and talk to them, talk to the four winds. Now, when we talk to the four winds, he was talking to the children of Israel that were scattered and dispersed. That's a whole nother thing for the Shabbat. So we're gonna save that. But when he was telling him to prophesy, so if you're reading from this book, you prophesying. Really, you prophesying what the Most High telling you to prophesy. And you prophesying, you speaking
in agreement with him, right?
Absolutely.
It is coming out of your mouth. So we testifying the same thing and lining up with him. What?
So with that being said, before I leave, I'm fix you a glass of water, because I heard that if you give a prophet a glass of water, then you found your reward. I need by
hold on. I already gave you a glass of water. Oh man,
come good on. For the day.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna Jasher, book of Jasher, 16:6-19. It's basically dealing the same story, but yeah. And they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And see, they just changed the names because he said Sedom, anyway, same place, same message. All right. And they also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the city of Sodom, and they went away. And eunuch, it was a eunuch. Okay. Anyway, Abraham's servant who was in the battle saw this and told Abram all that the king had done. And the cities of Sodom and that Lot was taken captive by them. And Abram heard this, and he rose up, about 318 men that were with him. And he had that night pursued these kings and smote them, killed them. Yep. And they all fell before Abram and his men. And there was none remaining but the four kings who fled. And they went each his own road. And Abram recovered all the properties of Sodom, and also recovered Lot and his property, his wives and little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lot lacked nothing. And when he returned from smiting these kings, he and his men passed the valley of Siddim, where the kings had made war together. And Bera, king of Sodom, and the rest of the men that were with him went out from the lime pits into which they had fallen to meet Abram and his men. And Danezek, basically Melchizedek, and it looked like Adonizedek. So Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem. The same was Shem. So it's telling you it was Shem here in Jasher. So this is another reason why they rejected. Went out with his men to meet Abram and his people with bread and wine. And they remained together in the valley of Melech. And Adonizedek blessed Abram. And Abram gave him a tenth from all that he had brought from the spoil of his enemies. For Adonizedek was a priest before Yah, high priest. And all the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah who were there and their servants approached Abram and begged of him to return their servants whom they had made captive and take unto himself all the property. And Abram answered the kings of Sodom, saying, as Yahuwah liveth, who created heaven and earth, and who redeemed my soul from all affliction, and who delivered me this day from my enemies, and gave them into my hand. I will not take anything belonging to you, that you may not boast tomorrow, saying, Abram became rich from our property that he saved. He wanted Yah to get the credit for his wealth, not these other folks.
That's
Nah.
right. That's right. Anything. That's right.
Go ahead.
Anything that I got, which I don't care about materialistic things, anyways. For me, and nothing that I have matters, because I mean, really, at the end, we all on the even playing field. We got one destination, is the death, and then the resurrection if we living right, and then hopefully some of us ain't gonna see death, but we all in the same boat. So your material things don't make you. You just have to get the Most High thanks for what you have and keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
I want to be counted worthy. I want to be one of the elect. I'm already one of the elect. I just got to walk in it.
There you go. Okay. For Yahuwah, my Elohim, in whom I trust, said unto me, thou shalt lack nothing, for I will bless thee in all the works of thy hands. And now, therefore, behold, here is all belongings to you. Take it and go, as Yahuwah liveth. I will not take from you from a living soul down to a shoe tie or thread, accepting the expense of the food of those who went out with me to battle. So basically, feed my people, and we good. And as also the portion of the men who went with me, Anar, Ashkel, and Mamre, they are and their men, as well as those also who had remained to watch the baggage, they shall take their portion of the spoil. So, okay, get them a little bit, but I'm good. And the kings of Sodom gave Abram according to all that he had said. And they pressed him to take of whatever he chose, but he would not. They said, come on, man, here, let us give you a little prize, a little reward. He like, no, I'm good. The Most High got me. See, his whole purpose, though, he wanted to redeem Lot. He got Lot. That's what he's like. I want what's mine. I want what's mine. I'm not worried about what's yours. I got to get mine. And he went and got Lot. And he sent away the kings of Sodom and the remainder of their men, and he gave them orders about Lot. Basically, this is mine. Don't mess with mine. And they went to their respective places. And Lot, his brother's son, he also sent away with his property. Like, I done got you back, but your properties are still too much to be with mine. Go about your way. I love you. Peace and blessing.
Make sure he was good. That's it.
And he went with them, and Lot returned to his home of Sodom, and Abram and his people returned to their home to the plains of Mamre, which is in Hebron. Man, look, when you got somebody like Abram, he gonna go and redeem what belongs to him. And the serious thing is that Abram was like our father, but he was an example of a Christ or anointed or a Mashiach. And he eventually takes on the role of a Melchizedek, but that's in the book of Aki. So most of y'all ain't read that. Y'all consider that pseudegraphical, but hey, the Mashiach is coming to redeem what's his.
His elect.
He's coming to redeem what's his. He gonna take out all these other kings in him doing it. Just like Abram took out all these other kings, took them out.
He gonna do it all in the name of his for his elect. Now, when we talk about elect, we have several meanings. Can you clarify what elect is? What is y'all's elect? If we go to Isaiah 45:4.
Let me go there for you.
Listen, because we hear this in church. Yah's elect is God. Well, they say God's elect are the people who are doing the right thing, who are following him. Hallelujah.
Okay.
Let's see what Yah, he said, because he was going to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. Who is he talking about?
Okay. For the sake of Yaakov, my servant, and of Israel, my chosen, I also call you by your name.
Who says his chosen and elect is the same thing? My chosen, he said Israel. Ooh, he's talking about his chosen people.
Yep. I give you a title, though you have not known me. I am Yahuwah.
I'm gonna read this.
And there is none else. There is no Elohim besides me. I gird you, though you have not known me.
I want to read from the Sefer.
Okay, go ahead, my brother.
For Jacob, my servant's sake, in Israel, my elect, I have even called you by name. I have surnamed you, though you have not known me. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else like me.
Man, see, I'm reading out of scripture. He was reading out of Sefer, and also, the TS 2009. But I don't know. Let me hit up something, and we're gonna be ready to end this or whatever. Book of Aki, same book. Most of us know about John 1 and how it basically lays down that the Mashiach was the one who set things in motion in creation. But I want to read something from the book of Aki that it was a confirmation to me. It was beautiful to me. But hey, I can only read it to you and let you get your take. Now, I'm gonna start off. It's just basically one little paragraph or whatever, but I guess it's dealing with a person named let me see, what's his name? His name is Abinadi. And so he had a dream. And here goes his dream. And when he awoke, he was lying by the edge of the pool, and he had dreamed a dream. And in his dream, Mashiach had opened up to him the plan of salvation. And he beheld the manner in which Mashiach would be born into the world as an infant, and that he would receive not a fullness at the first. And he beheld the manner in which Mashiach had received a fullness and had become the life and the light that is in all things. And he saw how Mashiach was thus the creator of the world in his fullness, and that his fullness extended even unto the person and being of the very Father of heaven and earth. And he beheld the manner in which Mashiach should receive this fullness, that it was in the flesh of a man living upon the earth, in the land of those from whom his father sprang. What land is that? Israel. Well, Canaan land, but Israel. And he saw that his growing from grace to grace came by his great love and compassion, while he stood in the midst of suffering and sin. And he saw the willingness of Mashiach to submit himself unto the desires of his Father in heaven, brought forth in his soul the fullness of the glory of the Father, and many such things did Abinadi see while lying on the edge of the pool in the night. Mashiach is going to redeem us. We are here captive here in the United States in a land that is not our own. And most of us don't even realize that we're captive here. It's funny, the whole story of where Lot was at and hanging out. Most people know Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot was in Sodom. He was in Sodom. And another nation came and conquered that land. But Sodom has its wickedness and all its evil that goes on. And America has all its wickedness and all this going on. We need to be saved. We need to be redeemed to get up out of here. So much is going on right now with this COVID. And they're going to be pressuring us to get this vaccine. And no. I ain't touching it. But I'm thankful that my Redeemer lives. So thankful. I know been rambling a little bit, talking off the topic or whatever. Well, we really didn't have. We were just talking because my brother, he wanted to talk on the Valley of the Dry Bones, and we got so much that when two brothers that know the scriptures a little bit, well, I know it a little bit. He know it a lot. He more talented at it. You get to talking about this thing, and it's like, man, let's talk. And then it's like, man, what if we had put that on video? Because a lot of times people would benefit from hearing this stuff, not the fact that we trying to be teachers and stuff like that, but some of these conversations, that are had, I guess, behind walls and stuff, people need to hear these things because they're a benefit. A lot of times, you go with the status quo of what you've been told, okay, oh man, they said you're only supposed to mess with the 66 books. And I stood that way for many, many, many years. And then as I started sampling these other books, no, I was not looking to replace those 66. But I'm like, when I seen that they were complementary, I'm like, wow, I've been missing out. Now, I do believe everything is released to us in time and season. So it wasn't my season to read those things, even though I felt like I was missing out. It wasn't the time. But now it's the time. And so, when you find yourself at the time where you should be, grabbing some of this other stuff, you do need to have the discipline to know what to put away and what not to accept. Because some of this stuff that's out there, some of it is not, I guess, solid. It's not solid. But the solid stuff, man, it's a benefit. It's a benefit. Well,
so my thing is, I wanted to say, I heard you say y'all is going to restore us. And it's important for Israel to know he going to restore all of us, but all of us ain't going to make it into the king. He going to purge out some of the rebels.
Yeah, 1/3 is only going to make it, right? Only 1/3 is something like that.
Well, when I have a different.
If you have a different, I'm saying I'm still learning. I know people. Some people think I know everything.
I hear people say, talk about the 2/3 doctrine, and so let me tell you, the 2/3 doctrine is happening now, and it's already happened. Because can we talk about it? Can we go?
We ain't got to shut down. We can talk. Hey, so my laptop got a lot of space. We can record.
Okay, so look right here. It says when y'all was talking to the prophet. I'm gonna take it right here. Let's see
it. I enjoyed talking to you anyway.
Ezekiel 5:1. Let's read that. I'm gonna read it from a different. I'm gonna go and read it from a different.
You going in the Sifa?
Yeah.
The Sifa.
And you, son of Adam, take you a sharp knife. This is Ezekiel chapter 5:1. And you, son of Adam, take you a sharp knife, take you a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon your head and upon your beard, and then take the balances to weigh and divide the hair. You shall burn with fire a third part in the midst of the city, when the days of the siege are fulfilled. And you shall take a third part and smite about it with a knife, and the third part you shall scatter in the wind, and you shall draw it out after them. And you shall also take thereof a few in skirts, and number and bind them up in your skirt, and then take them against and cast them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire. There shall be a fire come forth until all of the house of Israel. Thus says Adonai Yahuwah, this is Jerusalem. I have set it in the midst of nations and countries that are around about her, and she has changed my judgments and statutes into wickedness, more than the nations, and my statutes more than the countries that are round about her. For they refuse my judgments and my statutes, and I have not walked in them. So here we go. He's giving you a third, and here's your 2/3 right here. He's telling you what's going to happen. He's telling you what's going to happen with the Atlantic slave trade. But not only that, if you read Jeremiah 19:6, there's another 2/3 when you talk about the valley of the dry bones, where he allowed nations to destroy us, and he scattered the bones about under the sun and moon, because we worship the sun and moon. And then you talk about now, the 2/3 doctrine is still going on, because we're still getting blew away by cops when we get pulled over. So when you talk about the 2/3 doctrine, you got to consider all of that. It won't be over until the Most High come back. That's going to equal out 2/3, not to mention the millions and millions of slaves that got threw off in the water and just jumped off in the water because they refused to be slaves.
Yeah, I think Pastor Wilkins is talking about like Devil's Punch Bowl and stuff like that. I've been following that.
Yeah.
Good teaching too.
Yeah, so you got to understand the purge that he's talking about is you people telling you that you don't have to keep the law. You don't have to keep it. All you got to do, we're under grace, we're not under law. Man,
I believe that so many years, and that don't make it don't make sense. I gotta follow all the American laws.
You're a rebel.
But I'm not follow. I'm not gonna
follow.
You
are a rebel when you do that. When you directly go against the Elohim and tell people that and influence people with your platform that you don't have to keep these commandments, you are in trouble for that,
man. It talks about the lawless one, and I'm like, how are you gonna have a lawless one? But then you telling people that you're not the lawless one, but you don't have to keep the law. I'm like, lawlessness. So that means I'm without the law. But you telling me I should operate without the law, but I'm not lawless. I'm like, I don't want to call nobody stupid, but that sounds stupid.
It does. And I want to go. Can I dig into Ezekiel just a little bit with the prophet?
Hey, I'm here. You got me. Remember, you kidnapped me.
Yeah, I kidnapped you.
Well, he didn't kidnap me because we know that law. What that means too. It's a law for that. See, I voluntarily come because I love this brother.
That's what's up.
I appreciate this. My mishpah.
This my facts. My mishpah. This is my brother, man.
This one of my best friend for real. There you go. One of my best.
And he says, this is going to be Ezekiel 20, verses 33 through, and we're just going to read down from there. As I live, says Yahuwah, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm with fury poured out, I will rule over you. He's just letting them know I'm going to be your king. I had always intended to be, but I'm going to do it. My word is still my bond for Jacob's sake. I'm still going to do what I said I was going to do.
Bond. Your word should be your bond.
And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries where ye are scattered with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there I will plead with you face to face, like I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness out of the land of Mitzrayim. And I will plead with you, says Yahuwah, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. And I will bring forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you should know that I am Yahuwah. So it's one thing, you're going to be gathered anyway. So it's one, you might as well, even if you're walking around here hollering, you ain't got to keep no commandments, you're gonna be gathered. But he said he was gonna plead with you. And if you read Joel 3 and 2 all the way down through 6, you don't want, and then go back and read Isaiah 66, you don't want him to plead with you the way he gonna plead, because he said he gonna plead by fire.
Man, when I hear gather, I hear gathering the chaff for the fire myself. So I'm like,
he said by fire,
gnashing of teeth. I'm like, that I grind my teeth in my sleep. I'm like, that ain't comfortable. I'm like,
what about pleading though? When he said he gonna plead with you, he said it precept on precept. If you read Joel and then you go to Isaiah, he said, I'm going to plead with you. He said, but by fire will the Elohim plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Elohim shall be many.
Hey, I'm like, honestly, he's been chasing after so many of us and giving us so much grace. I know some people's like, okay, come back now, but it's like he's so merciful. He's long suffering with us, allowing us to endure to the end. Because I'm like, when you look at it, so often people have, I guess, lived a contrary life, and then at the end of their life, they get it straight. And then you also have those that have lived good lives, and then all of a sudden, go awry. And so life gives you chance and chance and chance again. I don't know. The grace thing didn't start under, making sense to me until I had to start paying a mortgage. When I started paying a mortgage, grace made so much sense, because they let you know, okay, your mortgage is due on the 1st, but we give you a grace period. If you pay the total amount before the 15th, you won't have to pay a penalty. I'm like, oh, wow. So I don't always pay mine on the 1st, but I make sure to get it in before the 15th.
That's right.
To, you know, that grace period. And so we operating under a grace period now. So that means you got time to get it right now. But once you punch your ticket, you know, I know people be praying for the dead and stuff like that, but once your ticket is punched, it's done. Done deal. You got time to get it right now. You know, I'm like, I hear people say that they're living their best life. I'm like, I want to live again. I want to live through eternity. So if this is my best life, I don't have anything to look forward to after this. That does not sound like forever at all. I'm sorry. I want to endure to the end of this and then have forever with Yah. It means I got to sacrifice some things. I got to give up some things. You know, I've given up friendships. I've given up relationships. I've given up aspirations of certain things because,
same here.
you know,
Same here. And it's like that. When you realize, you know, when you start reading and putting stuff in perspective and finding out what's important, like it's just gonna be some things you give up. And Yah, he will allow you to make that choice to see what's more important to you, you know?
Yeah. People tell me I'm rigid. They say that you don't have no flex or no being. And I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, when I was a Christian, how did I get to become a Hebrew if I didn't have any being? I'm like, just because I won't bend to what you want me to bend, that's the problem. They want me to bend to stuff that really is compromising. It's like almost choose this, which is, you know, basically going to the choose you this day who you will serve.
Right.
And so they want me to choose the world over Yah. Yah said no. Either me or yeah. He's like either me or death. You know, he got to be number one. And so that comes to be the problem. I'm like, I'm very rigid when it comes to something that he said. When it does say Yahuwah, yeah, I'm trying to walk that out. I'm not just trying to talk that. And it may get me where people don't like me. And so it used to be that I care and I still care, but I'm caring a lot less than I used to. You know, and as time, I've lost some friends, but I've gained somebody, you know, friends and stuff, hold me accountable. A lot of my friends, you know, I still love them, but, you know, they're not going to be ones that's going to assist in me making it to the kingdom. I got to endure to the end. They may veer on the path or whatever. So we may not end up at the same destination. I hope we do.
You got to tell each other the truth.
Yeah.
It ain't always gonna be what you hear. Just like all prophecy ain't good prophecy. It's something wrong. If somebody giving you everything that come out their mouth, they ain't never giving you no correction. Or maybe you don't need no correction. I mean, I kind of look at that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, I'm saying because I know some people look at me as the bearer of bad news all the time, and I'm just giving you another vantage point, another perspective, and I'm like, everything is not good. One of my favorite prophets is Micaiah. I'm like, he told Ahab, hey, if you go into this battle, you're gonna die. And you know, and of course the other prophet smacked him in his face, you know, it's like, you know, because he talking to the king. And so people think, you know, when you talking to somebody at some esteem or somebody that they got respect for, and you tell them something that's truthful and giving them a warning that if you're not at a certain level, you don't have the right to do that. You should shut up. And I'm like, somebody should. The people that's at his level ain't saying nothing, so why not me? And a lot of times I'm doing what thus says Yahuwah. Yah has told me to do it. And of course, I end up on the bench a lot of time. You know, people don't want to deal with me, but I'm thankful that, you know, you'll deal with me, man. You know,
for sure. I mean, we in here, man. Yeah. We out here. Hey, we good.
You know, you done checked me a couple of times on some stuff or whatever. Well, you know, you done said and vice versa. And it's all done in love. It's not like, you know, any disrespect or whatever, just saying, oh, man, did you consider that? I'm like, because that what you told me on that flag thing made so much sense. I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank you. You know,
you're welcome, bro.
You know,
you're welcome.
You know, I hate seeing that flag at work. And I can't be talking about it at work because folks will go and snitch and go tell.
The Most High, He give us wisdom on when to speak.
Yeah,
you don't want to. We over here, we in captivity. You got to keep it in mind. We got to feed our families. So you don't want an HR issue.
Yeah, I appreciate it because I'm like, I drove into work and I'm like, I looked up and I seen that flag. It just took me just like, this folks, they worship that pride. Pride comes before the fall. I don't care. June can be Pride Month all day. You can call it whatever you want to. Pride comes before the fall. If your pride ain't in Yahuwah and is in anything else, something is wrong with you.
That's right.
And I can love a person that has that as an inclination, but I don't have to agree with that. The people make it just because you don't agree. I'm like, shoot, I don't agree with somebody that's speeding. Well, I speed sometimes. So I'm talking about, but if they speeding and little kids in the area, I'm like, hey, slow down. But I speed myself, so I'm like, I'm not over there like I'm gonna shoot this guy for speed. I'm like, it's so many things I do wrong. I don't agree with. Let me see. Let's find something stupid. It's so many different things that I know I don't agree with, but sometimes I'm guilty. So I'm like, telling the truth is just the truth. I don't believe in littering, but I'm like, it's been times I done threw stuff on the ground and forgot to pick it up. I'm like, but I'll go pick it up. I see somebody throw something on it. Sometimes I go pick it up just not to even make the headache or whatever. I don't agree with women not saying thank you when I open the door for them in stores, but I'm like, I get it. I get it though, because they be feeling like you're trying to flirt. I'm like, man, you can't do nothing nice for nobody nowadays without them thinking that it's some ulterior motive. I'm like, I got a beautiful wife. My wife a Proverbs. I ain't thinking about your ugly. Let me stop. We might need to shut this down because I'm wild.
You're wild.
I'm wild. But I'm still gonna be. My mama taught me to open doors for women.
I feel that.
I was raised by my mama, so I'm like, when I see a woman, I'm going to the door. I hold the door for her, and it's just automatic. It ain't even like I'm doing it for. I don't do it for the thank you either, but I just you just kind of, that used to happen back when I was younger. I was a little kid opening the door for grown women, and they would always thank you. This generation don't know how to say thank you for nothing. If somebody borrow money from you and you help them, and they if they do give it back, they sometimes don't say thank you. It's like, where this generation ain't like when we was kids.
Things have changed. Definitely, they definitely different.
Let's go eat. I want to treat you. I want to treat this man to some dinner, man.
I'm down for it.
We're gonna end this. Let her. You want to pray out?
Yeah, absolutely. We gonna join it up. Y'all, we thank you. Thank you for the gathering. Y'all, we ask you to bless. We ask you to bless this, and we ask you to open up somebody's eyes and help them get an understanding. We thank you for giving us an understanding, y'all. And I ask you to bless us throughout our day and bless us on our journey through the rest of our day. In Yahshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Blessings and shalom.
Shalom.
Blessings. Yeah, go ahead. Go get that. All right. I'm shutting this off.